Will Ripple make a comeback? I don't know. I don't know. My
Let's
Linda
see.
coin is down 81%.
Oh God.
I know. There goes my $100. So I have $18 left, obviously, since it was a flat 100. I bought it. All right. So there's something I wanted to talk about, and that is taxes
Dun
and
dun
cryptocurrency.
dun.
I know. So that's one of the, I think, misnomers that a lot of people think. And a lot of people do believe that in the original dream of Bitcoin and decentralized cryptocurrency in general, that this was a way for you to, you know, get away from the government. The government doesn't control what I do in this space, and the government doesn't have any say over what this money is. Unfortunately, if you live in any major industrialized nation, the tax man's coming, whether you like it or not. And yeah, and if you ever want to turn that money into USD or to euro or to pound or anything like that, there's obviously going to have to be taxes paid. There's no way around it. I mean, there might be some, criminal money laundering way, but no, as an average person that wants to invest, that would not be advisable. Again, not a financial advisor, but definitely not advising that.
And
Um,
not a
yeah,
CPA, not an accountant,
not a
not a
CPA,
tax
definitely not an
expert.
accountant. Yeah, and including even stuff like Monero, which is supposed to be a completely anonymous cryptocurrency. Again, you'll get it back. You want to trade it into something that turns into U.S. dollars. You're gonna have to pay. Uncle Sam wants his money.
Okay, so wait,
Yeah.
so you keep saying convert it to US dollars. So is that the only thing we need to worry about in the crypto world? Like I'm out in the wild making trades, making, this coin for that coin, they're growing, they're growing, they're growing. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good until I cash out to US dollars.
Damn good question right there. Absolutely not. And this is something where, let's use some hypotheticals. I ended up taking $1,000 and buying some Bitcoin. Doesn't matter when. So I buy some Bitcoin. Cool. I got $1,000 of Bitcoin. I'm sitting there. And let me say, I go to sleep, Rip Van Winkle. I wake up in 40 years. Oh my goodness, that's now worth $10 million. Uh, did I pay taxes that entire time? No. Only when I want to turn that into US dollars is that going to be taxable income. It's unrealized gains. So that's the one example. The other example is I buy $1,000 of Bitcoin, and then it goes up to $2,000. It doubled. I go, sweet. I think Bitcoin's leveled off. I'm going to take this Bitcoin and transfer it all over into Ethereum. Now, you bought in at 1,000, but that extra 1,000 is now realized gain once you even transfer it coin to coin. So it's not a like kind trade as people
So
kind of think it is.
so when you say transfer, it's not that you sold the Bitcoin for dollars and then
Mm-hmm.
used those dollars to buy Ethereum. Like you literally traded one type of crypto for the other type of crypto.
That is correct, but that's not exactly how Uncle Sam sees it. For all intents and purposes, you might as well have just sold it to US dollars and then bought into Ethereum. That's kind of how they're dealing with it there. So, yeah, if you even, and then there's one of the main trade exchanges, Coinbase, which, a lot of people use, especially in the US. And, if you go in there, they are compelled to report all of your info because they lost a lawsuit from the IRS. That anybody that has over 20K in trades, $20,000 in trades, all of their information will be reported, and they're going to generate tax forms for you as well.
Well, see, that's fine because I'm not that big of a baller. I don't have to worry about that, right? So
Hmm.
I'm totally off the hook. I don't have anything to worry about, right?
Yes, but so let's say you took that $1,000 of Bitcoin. You're like, cool, and it doesn't go anywhere. And you're like, well, this is lame. I'm going to transfer it over to Ethereum. And then it goes up, and then it goes back down to where you started. Exactly 1,000 again. Oh man, that's lame. I'm going to buy some Stellar Lumens. Oh, it does the same. Let's say you did that 20 times, made not a penny. But if you did that 20
So,
times, that is $20,000 of movement in Coinbase. So you would get reported. And unfortunately, the burden of all of these records is on you, not the IRS, not on Coinbase, to prove. So luckily, Coinbase does keep all these transaction records for you. There are a lot of other exchanges out there that they usually keep your records as well, but 95% of them are essentially just startups. There's these exchanges that are just utilizing the blockchain technology to transfer your stuff around. So if you went in and you traded, let's say your Bitcoin went up to $100,000 from 1,000, sweet, and you traded all around the market on these, different exchanges, and it happens to all go to 0, then the tax man's going to come and be like, hey, well, where'd all that money go? And I need to pay taxes on it. And you're like, well, it's gone. Okay, well, where'd it go? And if you can't tell them where
Prove
it
it.
went, yeah, if you can't prove it exactly, burden of proof is on you, then you got to pay taxes on something you now don't have any of. So, yeah, taxes are somewhat inevitable, and people aren't really happy to talk about this because a lot of people had the dreams that this money was completely off the grid, but it couldn't be more on the grid as far as it's concerned if you want to remain a citizen in your country and you eventually want to realize that as your own fiat
You
currency in your local country.
you can remain a citizen in your country. You just won't remain a free citizen in your
That's
country.
correct. And you definitely won't have any coins you can access.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that they can do, at least not right now. They could probably compel Coinbase at some time to freeze somebody's account if something happened. That hasn't really been jumped into yet. I mean, they're mostly just going to go after the individual. But right now the IRS, the SEC, all these government agencies are deciding. Oh, they're realizing this crypto thing is obviously something now, so they're enacting a lot of things to be in place if slash when all of these other variables that people are thinking of try to execute as ways to skirt the government and the IRS.
Yeah, this is, I mean, the regulation, it's inevitable. It has to come. It's probably a good thing. But this particular way that they've defined crypto, the way that they're taxing it, it's really frustrating and it's really counterintuitive, you
They're
know,
treating it as property, so
which instead of currency. And
exactly,
and
yeah.
and and that's why the taxation is weird. Like you ask the average, well, the average person, I mean, the average crypto trader,
Hmm.
and their default guess would be I should only be taxed when I cash out to USD. And if I
Hmm.
cash out more than I paid in, that's a profit. That should be taxable. Okay, fine. But this direct coin to coin transfer as a taxable event is just it's really aggravating. Because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to like how we normally think of the world. So my stupid analogy for this is I buy a baby cow. I buy a calf,
Hmm.
and it's really cheap because it's just a little baby cow.
Hmm.
And time goes by, the cow grows up, it gets more valuable on the cow market. I don't know what
Yeah,
the
you could sell
bovine
its
market.
milk. You could sell its, when you sell it to be
Well,
butchered and all that. Yeah.
milk confuses my analogy. So there's
Okay.
no milk. It's not a milking cow. It's a bull.
This you have a dry cow
No, it's
or
a
a bull.
bull.
Okay.
It's a male cow.
Okay. You have a bull. Sell his horns, pieces of horn. Okay, no. Go on.
Now that it's mature, I'm gonna sell it for meat, and
Hmm.
and it's worth a lot of money. But I'm not gonna sell it for cash. I'm gonna trade my grown-up bull for a car that I've got my eye on. So
Hmm.
a
That's an
a
expensive bull or a crappy car.
but so it's a barter, right? Like like even imagine if it was like my neighbor. I'm like, hey
Hmm.
man, I'll trade you a cow for that used car. Great,
Hmm.
let's do it. So I guess because both are property, in theory, I now owe taxes on the increase in value that I just realized from my cow,
Yep. That's
which
how they see it.
which is so frustrating because no cash was generated when I
Hmm.
bartered my cow for the car. But if the car is worth, say, 10 grand and my
Hmm.
profit margin is 9 grand on from my $1,000 calf that grew into a $10,000 car, then I owe taxes on $9,000. I need to come up with the cash to pay taxes on $9,000, but there was
Yeah.
no cash involved. So like I'm now cash poorer after this transaction, even though I have more property value.
Yeah, no, it's 100%. I mean, because that's going to literally force you or anybody else to have to cash out certain crypto to be able to pay the taxes on this. Because if you're doing crypto coin change to crypto coin change, et cetera, yeah, that's literally going to force you to have to either have money on hand already, find more money, or you're going to have to cash something out, which is not what people want to do with their investments. Sometimes people want
Yeah.
to ride the investments and trade them around and see which one's going to which. So yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's you're right. They're treating it as property instead of currency, which really kind of muddies the waters for all these coin to coin trades, which is what all the exchanges are.
Right.
It's yeah, it's I mean the exchange would actually be a lot cleaner if everybody had to only buy all these coins with fiat currency. But then it
Right.
would devalue the whole reason of the exchange in general or the purpose for the
Well, and
potential of
and
cryptocurrency and
and for people that don't know the space, there's something like, I don't know, 1,500 different crypto coins out there. There's hundreds of new
yeah,
ones coming all the time.
yeah.
And the vast, vast majority of them, like, over 98%, as you said, can only be traded from one type of crypto coin into that target crypto. So if you want to buy um, Stellar Lumens, you can't pay cash to buy
Mhm.
Stellar Lumens. You have to buy Ethereum and then trade it for Stellar, or you have to buy Bitcoin and trade it for Stellar. So the whole crypto marketplace is set up for these coin bartering transfers, and not for dealing with US currency or euros, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
um, and so yeah, this just like throws a big wrench into every US citizen's trading behavior, like, and like you
Yeah,
said.
does the IRS take Bitcoin? Just trade back over to Bitcoin and be like, "Oh, here, fine, here's your 0.173 Bitcoin. Okay, go away." Yeah, but your rant is completely justified because I think this is going to really bite people hard. Um, and especially for those that, let's say an exchange goes down. I mean, there was an exchange back in the day, for those that don't know, called Mt. Gox that was, was one of the only ones, one of the only exchanges out there back in the day. And it was one of the bigger ones, but it was relatively flawed. And then they ended up losing like $400 million or so of some people's money. And let's say
Of
that
Bitcoin.
happens, Bitcoin, exactly. But, people's collective invested money. Um, you're right. So it wasn't 400,000 to begin with, but that's what it accrued to. Um, and then let's say you needed to retrace your steps, and the IRS is like, "Well, I saw you did really well in Bitcoin, so where's our money?" And you're like, "Oh, well, it's all gone because it got stolen here, or it disappeared, or did a bad trade." If you can't prove that, I don't know if your Excel spreadsheet's going to cover it.
Right.
So there's a lot of flaws with this that it's obviously no burden to the IRS, really. They're going to get their money either way, or they're going to put people in jail or debtor's prison or whatever the hell it is. But this is, it might clean up in the future, but for right now, it seems very it's like performing surgery with a wood cutting axe. So it's yeah, it's frustrating, and I mean it's inevitable. So it's like my recommendation to anybody that's investing, just be on the up and up and just do what you need to do now, because otherwise, if you're going to get hit with not only these crazy taxes in general, but then penalties for trying to dodge until you can't anymore, you know, it's it's gonna be it's gonna be rough, and it could wipe somebody out.
Yeah, and what's hard is, even when you're trying your best to comply, it still isn't going to be easy.
Yeah.
Because, to go back to my stupid cow analogy, in order to fully comply, I would have had to have known the market value of that cow when I traded it, because
Mm-hmm.
that was my cash out for that cow.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in the crypto world, you buy Ethereum so you can buy Stellar. The moment that you make that trade for Stellar, you have to know the value of Ethereum. And
Mm-hmm.
the markets are wildly volatile even within a single day. So it's not like you can just say, like, I mean, you could look up historical data and be like, oh, what was Ethereum worth on January 21st?
At 5:15 p.m. Like that, yeah,
But
that data
that's the thing, you got
exists.
to get it down to the minute, because
Yes,
some of these
absolutely
swings
correct.
are crazy, and it'll
Mm-hmm.
it'll change the math, in your favor or dramatically against your favor. So you have to link it back to an actual US dollar value. Um, and I've done some complex trades that are going to take me a while to unwind for tax purposes. Like, I was in this small crypto coin. I traded it out to Bitcoin because that was the only coin I could trade it to. I then traded the Bitcoin to Ethereum because Ethereum is the only coin that I could buy my target coin in.
Yeah,
So it's like, this like zigzag shape, and I need to
yeah, I've
figure
done that.
out the US dollar equivalents of each step of those transactions and figure out within each transaction, did I gain or lose a little bit? Because I mean, they're all within the span of a couple minutes of each other, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But still, like the accounting for this is just I mean, I'm trying my best and I'm still gonna it's gonna be based on like estimates and guesses, and I'm like I have my own spreadsheet and I'm like not accounting for like a fairly big sum of money, and I just can't remember like what trade did I do? Where did that money go? Where, like how am I showing
Yeah.
like I'm showing like 3 times more Ethereum than I should have. I know I moved that somewhere. I did something with it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just gonna be a pain.
Yeah, and I think that there's some people have seen this coming, and so far that I've heard of, there's only one, basically tax firm that's essentially prepping for this. That there are other tax firms that are like, oh, we'll handle your crypto, but they're not going to be able to handle the volume of people that this is going to, I think, affect. There's going to be people that are panicking and scrambling to try to find somebody that can help them sort through all this stuff. Actually, there's a great resource. There's one that was recently recorded on Crypto 101 podcast, which is very helpful for people as well. And you can just find it on your normal podcast, or you can find them at crypto101podcast.com. We'll put a link in the description. And there was one specifically about the firm called Happy Tax, and they just do general taxes, but they are prepping because it seems like I don't know if he was the CEO or what he was of the company, but he's in the crypto space. He's very knowledgeable about it. But he did about a 90-minute interview on that one that he basically explained as simply as he could a lot of the ins and outs and answered a lot of the questions about, well, what if this and what about this. So it's coming, and if you wanted a little bit more detailed explanation, that guy's a professional. That guy is a tax guy who understands the crypto space and what the implications are as a U.S. citizen. He mainly only knows U.S. tax law, so if anybody else is watching this from another country, it may not be that helpful to you. But I did find that pretty helpful to dive into, because that was something I was looking into. I was like, well, how can they really track me with these taxes until I actually cash out? And doing a little bit of digging just on the internet, finding out about the Coinbase, lawsuit, the IRS lawsuit against Coinbase, and how they can compel, and a lot of other government agencies can compel a lot of these other exchanges to cough up all this information. That it's, unless you're already in the Cayman Islands and you get everything over there and you never plan to leave, it's like you want to still stay in the country you're in, just follow the damn rules. So
Yeah, as best you can. Like I think,
yeah.
putting in the best faith effort you can, and it's going to be hard. So there are some tax tools, some websites that will kind of import your exchange data, help you start figuring out your tax liability for the year.
Hmm.
They're still not fully baked yet. The
Yeah,
whole
they're all
space is
just
still
new
young.
concepts. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's certain things. I mean, yes, this space is filled with a lot of very creative technological people that are going to try to find certain ways around certain things. I'm personally not that savvy, and I'm not just going to trust some dude on Reddit to be like, do this, they'll never catch you. No, I'm not going to mess around with that. I don't want to get slapped with a penalty 7 years down the road when I think of like, oh, I've made a lot of money from crypto, and now it's all gone and minus some. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah.
So I'm not willing to mess around.
Agreed. Agreed.
All right, everybody. Well, yeah, that's our harsh tax realization, but it's still worth your time. Still, in my opinion, still worth my time to continue looking into crypto and a lot of these projects. But again, we are not CPAs, not financial advice, not investment advice. Just two dudes trying to give you guys some more knowledge. So thank you guys. Stay sane. We'll catch you next time.